Hey everybody. So we didn't have time in class on Wednesday to really dive into integration tests, and integration tests are similar in practice to unit tests, at least the integration tests that we'll be talking about today, but conceptually they have some differences. And I wanted to make sure that you guys had an opportunity uh, to see how they're different. So, as you may recall, when we created the student project from the archetype, it included this student IT class, which is an integration test. And IT stands for integration test. That's sort of the parlance that Maven uses. Integration tests are bigger in scope than unit tests. Unit tests are meant to test the programming unit, so the class, the method, the sort of lowest level functionality of your program. Integration tests are meant to be more end-to-end tests, or are tests that that integrate that test how multiple components talk to each other, how multiple classes work with each other, things like that. You'll see in later projects like the web project and the GWT project that the integration tests, well, the unit tests continue to just test individual classes, but the integration tests do things like we'll start up a web server and we'll hit URLs to make sure that really end to end your application is doing the right thing. Or in GWT, it will do things that start up your entire application, both the server side and the client side, and it'll let you manipulate your UI using Java code. We'll get to all of that later. But today we're going to focus in on the kinds of integration tests that you might write for the first couple of projects. They're all command line based. So I've a while ago I developed a class called Invoke Main Test Case. This is one of my classes. And basically what it allows you to do is invoke the main method of a class inside, well, essentially a JUnit test. And even if your program, well, it allows your command line program to do all the things command line programs do, write to standard out, read from standard in, standard error, all that good stuff, and also call system.exit, also exit, quote unquote, exit the VM without actually exiting the VM. And so it allows then your tests to make sure that the end-to-end functionality of your projects, of your assignments, which is really what gets graded by the grader, make sure that all of that works. So out of the box, the student archetype creates two tests. There's invoking main with no arguments, has exit code of 1, and then invoking main with no arguments, print missing arguments to standard error. And the way that you implement these integration tests with a couple of methods that are inherited from invoke main test cases. First is the invoke main method that, well, basically, I don't want to look at the implementation. I'll just look at how you use it. Invoke main takes a couple of arguments. The first one is a Java line class, the class, which you can learn all about in the reflection lecture, which is like week 4, week 5 or something. Basically, it is an object that represents a class. So the first argument to invoke main is the name of the class whose main method you want to invoke. And then the second argument, actually subsequent arguments, because it's var args, are the arguments that you send to the main method. And so what invoke main does is it goes off and, well, invokes the main method. It invokes in such a way that the contents of standard output and standard error are captured, and it also captures any exit code that is returned by the program by calling system.exit. And encapsulates all of that into this main method result object. This is a object. This is an inner class of invoke main test case. And then this main method result object has methods like get exit code, and let's see here, what else does it have? Oh, get error, get out, and then it's got an invoke, which nope, doesn't. I don't think we really use here. It's probably used internally. So anyway, so you can do things like say, okay, when I invoke the main method of my student class with 0 arguments, I expect that the exit code returned by that is equal to 1. Cool. And similarly, you can get the error, or I can probably rename that get standard error, and say, hey, this returns a string. Oops, yeah, this returns a string. And you can say, hey, great, standard error contains string with command line arguments. And if you go and look at your at the main method, you'll see that basically, yeah, all it does right now is says system.error.println, missing command line arguments, and then it exits 1. And that's why these methods pass. So if we go and run these, this is just a JUnit test at the end of the day, right? We're using the JUnit annotations here. You run those two and it passes. Now, I think in our very first class, when we were trying to figure out, okay, ultimately where we want to go with this, we wrote this other test, end-to-end integration test. And so then this invokes the main method of the student class with the arguments that are there in the example, right? The Dave, mail, 3.64, algorithms, operating systems, and Java. And here we verify that yes, when the student class's main method is invoked with those arguments, its output should contain this big sentence here, and its exit code is equal to 0. Now note that we already wrote the unit test for the student class that verifies that yep, all of this is correct, is implemented as we expected. So now this integration test, really what it's doing is allowing us to focus in on the main method itself and the implementation of the main method. So right, because I mean, see if I run this, well actually, let's see, this test was ignored. If I go and just run it individually, yep, it'll say that yes, it failed because I expected this big string to be written, but nothing was written, which is exactly what we'd expect. Okay. So now let's use some test-driven development to figure out how to write the main method for the student class. So let's try to start simple. So the first argument is the name of the student. Okay, so we'll have a test which is first command line argument is name of student. So here, what do we want? Well, let's see here. We could just say invoke main student.class with like the name of a student, but this won't print out the name, right? Because it's missing command line arguments. So I guess what we could say instead of this, we could say, well, missing student name prints error. So if we just did this, if we just invoke the main with student, oops, and we'll extract a variable which is let's get there. We don't need to call this one Dave. It's called student. Actually, it's not missing the student name. It's provided a student name, and we already know that when there's no arguments. So it's when we're missing the second argument, which is gender. Oops. And we need to say student gender, I guess. Gender prints error. So I only have one student. I'm going to assert that. Oh, this isn't the student that's created. Sorry, it's the result that's created. Result.get error contains string missing gender, and that the error code get exit code equal to 1. Okay, so now if I go and run this, okay, it said I expected a string containing missing gender, but was missing command line arguments. That's absolutely true because the main method doesn't do much of anything yet. Let's go down to the main method. Okay, so now I need to parse the command line. So, well, let's see here. So in order to keep everything passing, I could say if args.length equals 0, then that's when I want to print out those arguments. As a couple people reminded me, I can use the command shift up arrow to move lines that way. Else if args.length, I can just say else, I suppose. the simplest thing to do would be to say else, oops, heck, system.no, system.error.println, what did I say, missing gender. Okay. So now if I run my test again, all the tests pass. And actually I want to run all the tests, so I'll run all the tests. And that one was ignored, but the other ones passed, right? Yes, 4 tests done, 1 ignored. Okay, red-green refactor. Well, so let's see here. Can I refactor something? I do have some duplication here, and the duplication that I'm seeing are these strings, are these messages right here. So like I have missing gender here in my main method. I also have missing gender here in my test. I could pull those out into constants. I don't know. That might be a little overkill. I'll think about it. Maybe come back to it later. It might be the answer might become a little more obvious to me as we go on. Okay, so then that's missing gender. Let's now go through and do some other stuff. So let's see here. The other required parameter is the GPA. So I'm just going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to say, hey, test missing GPA. GPA prints error. So now I need to have a student, and I need to have a gender. Doesn't matter. And missing GPA. I'll run this guy. It fails. I'll go back to student, and I'll say, well, now this is else if args.length only equals 1. And then I'll say else, and you know what I'm going to say. So so I should be like, oh, if args.length equals 2, then print missing GPA. But I don't have a test for args. Well, there's only 3 arguments, so I don't know if I should do that or not. My spider sense is telling me to do this. Copy that, and this will be missing GPA. Run that. 1 test. Run all my tests. 5 tests done. Everything's passing. Okay. So let's see here. Now, the classes are optional. So then I should do this. I should say test public void student with taking no classes is okay. Right? So now if I have a student that has a GPA of 1.23, this should, let's see here, this should print the student, right? So let's see here, let's see what we got. So this is get out, contains string, let's see here. This should have the student's name, so let's see, it should be student has a GPA of 1.23 and is taking 0 classes, period, I believe is what it should be, and that should have a return code of 0. Okay, we'll run it. It fails. Nothing was printed out. Okay, we should expect that. And so let's see here. Okay, so now where do we go from here? Well, let's see here. We now need to keep track of the, so we'll need to make a student eventually, right? I mean, what we want down here is a student equals new student. Oops. And this has all sorts of things. So name, classes, GPA, GPA, and gender. And Well, let's see here. I could say this is like arg0 and blah blah blah. I want to put all these. Oops, I want to create variables for all of those. Why didn't it let me create a variable? Yep. Oh, no. Oh, create a field? That's not right. Oh, I see. It used the name field from the student class, even though it's a static method. Well, let's see here. This could be arg0. And so then classes is going to be a list of string, which are the classes. This will just be a new array list for right now. Just empty array list. GPA. What's the type of GPA? I don't. Okay, it's not. Yeah, it is a double. Double GPA equals. This is this is args2 actually. Args2 and string gender equals args1. It's interesting that the doesn't exactly line up with the arguments, and that's okay, I guess. Okay, what is this telling me? It's an incompatible type, required doubled, found a string. Ah, yes. Okay, and so now I want to convert that string into a double. So I can say, what is that? Double dot parse double. There we go. And then finally, I want to say system.out.print line, sure, of student.toString, which is, oh, and by the way, when you call print line on an object, it'll invoke the toString method. So I'm pretty sure this gets what you want. Oh, and I want an exit code of 0. Oh, wait, I want an exit code of 0 when it's successful. Let me come back to that. That'll require a little bit more work now, won't it? Okay. Let me run this. Okay, it failed. Why did it fail? Oh, it said invalid gender exception. I don't know about doesn't matter gender. Ah, okay. Right, that was because that other that student that I created. Where's my test? There's my test code. Doesn't matter. Okay, we'll make this female. Oops, and now, oh yeah, student taking no classes. Okay, well this assertion passed. That's good, but now yeah, this one's problematic because it always returns 1. Okay, well let's see here. Excuse me. Let's do the following. So all of these are error cases. So I'm gonna do this. I'm going to copy the system.exit. I mean, I could just do this and this and this. Does that make it pass? I think it does. Nope. Oh, and then this has to be a 0. Duh. Okay, well, 1 test passed. Well, that's good to know. Let's run all of the tests now. Yep, all 6 tests pass. I'm feeling the need to refactor. So I'm going to make a method here, and I'm going to call this message. And then I'm going to take these two, and I'm going to extract a method. So refactor extract method, which is print error message and exit. Oh, it didn't find these other ones. Oh, where? Okay. I'm going to inline that variable so it's a little easier to read. And I guess let's change this to print error message and exit. Print error message and exit, and that's better. I'll run all these again. Cool, 6 tests. Okay, I've been coding for a little while and I haven't committed yet, and so I'm feeling a little anxious about these changes. I don't want to have to undo a bunch of stuff, or maybe as I'm ready to commit these to GitHub. So let's see here. Begin writing some integration tests for the main method of the student class. Commit and push. Okay. Now, those of you listening along at home are probably saying, "Wait, what if GPA? I converted a GPA from a string to a number. What if it's not valid?" Very good question. So let's add a test to figure out what we want here. So let's see here. Invalid GPA prints error. So we'll just do this stuff again. Actually, we'll get one of the error ones. We'll just copy that. And we'll say, oh, we need to have a valid gender. And we'll have an invalid GPA. Bad GPA. And then this should have a error message. I want to say invalid GPA. And I'm a big fan of including the bad input data in the error message. So I will just include that here. Okay, so that's the behavior that I want. So let's see what the behavior I have is right now. Okay, look at this. Error while invoking main. Something called invocation target exception. Java line number format exception for input string bad GPA. Okay, so this is saying that instead of, well, I got an uncaught exception when it tried to parse that string. And so let's look at that method. Sure enough, if you try to parse a double of bad GPA, you're going to get an error message. So, okay, what can we do about that? I'm going to move this out into a method. Parse GPA. Great, and now I'm going to wrap that in a try-catch block. Is there a nice way for me to do that? No, there is not. So I'm going to say try, and then catch, what was that, number format exception, I believe. And now I'm going to print error and exit of, what did I call it, invalid GPA? What do I want? Invalid GPA colon, yes. Invalid GPA colon, and then, oops, I'm going to call this GPA. I'm going to rename that to GPA. Oops, didn't like something. Oh, missing return statement. Oh, yeah. Well, this is an interesting little conundrum here. So, print error message and exit will actually exit the VM, but the compiler is telling me, hey, you have a method, parse double, that needs to return a value. And when you go through this, so when everything's happy and you just have a parsable double, yep, that'll return the double, no problem. But if you're down here in your catch block, your method doesn't return anything. That's what it's complaining about right here. So what should it return? Should it return 0? Should it return -1 or some other magic number? Should it throw an exception? Well, that exception's never going to actually be thrown. I don't know. There's a trick, and it's kind of a stupid compiler trick. I'm going to try it here. So I'm going to say return print error message and exit. Does this mean that, oh, there it is. Return a double? No. Private. And I think this is how you do it. You declare that it returns some type T, and then you just say return null or something. So this is kind of tricking the compiler into saying, well, basically into returning null. And the reason I do a type T's and a type doubles, I don't need to return some like magical value. Actually, I guess I am. I'm returning null as a magical value. But I guess I'm sort of I'm committing a small sin, and I'm doing it though in a very limited place. I only have one magic value here in null. And as a matter of fact, it probably would be better if I did that same thing up here. Oops. If I oops. Oh, it doesn't like it when it's void? Oh, interesting. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I guess you really can't do that, can you? Okay, well, good. So I don't need to, because I said I want to return there, because strictly speaking, this, when I call print exit, and if I go through this loop and I call this method, this stuff down here is never going to be executed. So it is like I am returning, but I'm returning from a void method. So I could just have a regular return statement here, which is correct, but I don't like it. Well, but I don't like it. Okay. Try that instead. So does this now, do things run now? We'll run the invalid GPA prints error again. And yay, it is. Okay. Run all of the tests. All 7 tests are done. Okay. Why is that highlighted? Unboxing of blah 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 may produce null pointer exception. Oh, well, that's true. I don't like having that warning there. What can I do about it? Inspection, blah, blah, blah. Sure. I can say disable inspection. I can say suppress for class. I can say suppress for statement. Okay. So that's either telling IntelliJ or it's telling the compiler. I'd just be IntelliJ. Saying, hey, listen, don't complain about this. And that way, my code's still green. Because I'm doing a little hack, I'm playing a little trick on the compiler, and we'll. I think that's okay. We'll see. It might come back to haunt me later. But luckily, I've got tests to tell me, whether or not everything's okay. So everything's okay. I'll run them again. I didn't really change anything, did I? No, everything's all right. Okay. Now, let's see here. I want to commit this stuff too. What did I do? I just changed the. I just add the GPA logic. Is that what I did? Oh yeah, right. Validate print error message when GPA is invalid. Okay. Commit and push. Oh, I didn't see any opportunities to refactor. Did you? I didn't. Okay, so next test. I think the next test is multiple classes. So let's see here. Now, I guess what I'm wrestling with is, do I need another test? Do I need to test 1 class, 2 class, 3 classes? I kind of don't think I do. All that logic is. No, maybe as I say, all that logic is implemented in student, but there might be. I'm thinking about there might be some command line parsing that needs to happen differently. So let's think about it. Public void student with one taking 1 class. So let's see here. I'll take a happy case. Oh, I didn't validate the, this person says this class is too much work. I think that's okay. I'll save that for later. Okay, so this is all valid command line arguments, and they're taking Java. Okay, it's taking 1 class Java. Run this test. Right now I'm hard-coded to take 0 classes. So now I need to populate that, that array list of classes from the command line arguments. Okay. Well, let's see here. Here's the simplest thing that could possibly work. I'm going to move that up here. And what's the simplest thing? I say classes.add args, what is that? 1, 2, 3. args3, right? I think that's the name of the class. Okay, yay, that worked. I run all of them. Does it still work? Oh, it didn't. Oh yeah, right. Of course, it's going to break on anything that doesn't have 3 classes. Okay, so now what? I've got to say, I've got to basically put all of the args after any argument starting with argument 3. While I is less than args.length I plus plus, put that in classes. Okay. Yep, that's what I want. Try this now. Okay. That's all I don't know. What is this saying? Manual array to collection copy. Oh, check that out. That's neat. It's a little hard to read, I think, so I'm going to leave it. Thanks, IntelliJ, but no thanks. Okay. Any other refactorings that we could do? There's one that I want to come back to, but I'm going to leave this here. As a matter of fact, I think now, though, because the way we implemented this, I think we've got all the stuff implemented. So let's unignore this test. See if it runs. It does. Run all the students. Okay. Okay. Wow. Let's see here. So now I got to ask myself. Okay. So read the names or yeah, the names of the classes taken by the student on the command line, from the command line. Now, all my tests are passing. Am I done? Well, if I've written, I've done, oh, what are some of the problems? I'm going to review those real quick. Let's just see what it doesn't like. Oh, it's going to complain about that? Nah, okay. Thanks, IntelliJ, but really, you're getting in my way here. I don't want that. I might do something that gets rid of that in a moment anyway. Read the names of classes right, so I'm going to push that. Yep, I'll commit it. Okay. So, am I done writing all of my tests? Well, let's see here. Let me think about it. One thing that I haven't done is I haven't tested what happens when there's an invalid gender. So, let's do that. I did invalid GPA. Invalid gender prints error. Oops. Let's see here. Let's inline that. Give it a good GPA. 3.45. We'll have the gender up here, and we'll make it a gender and bad gender. And say invalid gender. Oops. Gender equal to 1. Okay. Run. Okay, let's see here. What did it get? Legal argument exception caused by... Oh yeah, threw one of those invalid gender exceptions. I don't know about bad gender. Okay, cool. So now we got to do for gender what we did for... we got to do for gender what we did for GPA, is be able to parse it out and validate it. Now, this is tricky because the logic for parsing the gender is inside the student class. So I guess we could do this. I'm going to split declaration and assignment, I am going to say try the student, and then I'm going to catch the invalid gender exception, and I'm going to print error message and exit invalid gender. Oops, doesn't like here. It might not have been initialized. That is true, because even though this method will exit the VM, the compiler doesn't know that. And so the compiler says, oh, hey, you can get down here. There's a code path that'll get to this usage of student where student hasn't been initialized. So I'm just going to return here to have it not complained about that. Yeah, alternatively, well, okay, let's just get this working. Because then I can maybe refactor that to make it a little nicer. Well, no, maybe I can't. So, okay, so good. It's green. Is everything else green? Yeah. So I'm kind of struggling right now because, I don't know, here I can just parse the GPA, and the student, because it takes a, because it takes a double, it doesn't need to worry about it. I kind of... Now I don't like having all that large logic for parsing the gender in the student class. I know the template when we created the student GPA was gender was a string. I'm wondering if I should, I don't know, should I do a big refactoring and instead of storing gender as a string here, store it as the enum type? That's what I probably should do. I'll change a bunch of unit tests for my student method, or my student class, but I think that's okay. Well, let's see here. I'm going to ponder that a little bit. And I'm going to check in my code, because I'm talking about doing a big refactor. I want to have a nice stable point to work off of. And so this is validate the gender, the student's gender from the command line. You know what? I'm gonna so I'm gonna commit this stuff off, and I want to try it. Oh, there we go. I want to try it to see what happens if I do the following. So if the student main method, oops. So instead of gender being a string here, I want gender to be a gender. And so I'll just have this be parse gender. And then this I want to change. So let's see here. I think I can do change fourth parameter of student from string to gender. Yep. All sorts of stuff will break. And now this shouldn't throw an invalid gender exception anymore. Instead, why is that yellow highlighted? Oh, it's always null? Oh, that's nice. It's smart to figure that out. We'll change that in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to, let's see here, can I join declaration and assignment? Yay, that's a little nicer to read. It's saying gender is always null. Okay, so parse gender. So now I want to move the logic from the constructor here. Oh, get gender for string. That's cool. I've already got one of those. Oh, watch this. So let's see here. This now I just want to be gender. Instead of get gender first. Oh, did you notice that when I did that, it now said that, oh, the private method is never used. Well, have no fear. I'm just going to move this logic to that static method, that parse gender. Oops, that's neat. and it works out nicely. Oh yeah, look at this code. So what I can do is I can highlight this, and then I can say code reformat code. Oh, now everything looks nice. Okay. So now I've got this parse gender method here. Now let's see here. Let's try running some tests. These are all my tests. Let's try running them again. Things aren't building. It is saying student tests, incompatible types, string cannot be converted to a gender. Okay, yeah, look at all this good stuff. Remember when we built all of this? Okay, so now this is saying, oh yeah, right, you're still sending a string to that constructor that now takes a gender. Let's just change the default gender to be a gender. And, no, not person.gender, student.gender. Oh, what is it complaining about? Has private access. Make it package local so the test can see it. And then say gender dot female. Nice. Okay, that's cool. What was it complaining about here? Access can be private. Okay, so make it private. Thank you, IntelliJ. I'm going to go to the next error, which is let's see here. Highlight next error, F2. Okay, so now it is get Dave student. Well, so this guy is okay to change to gender.male. Right there. F2 again. Okay, create student with gender. Blah. Okay, so this one, how is this used? I'm going to look for usages, so I'm going to go navigate. I know it as option F7. Is it under this menu? Maybe it's under code. Oh, where is it? View. Oh, maybe it's one of these B's or something? Declaration? No, it should be find usages or something like that. Oh, sorry, I don't remember where the menu is, because of course I haven't used the menu in years since I learned keyboard shortcut. So I want to find all the places where this is used, so I say Alt F7. All over the place. Okay, so all caps. Oh, this is interesting. So all these tests now that were part of the student class, well, the student class doesn't do this anymore, or rather the student constructor doesn't do this anymore. So I guess what I should do is, well, let's see here. Where's the test that has an invalid? Oh, do we ever write one of those? Do we ever write a test that expects the invalid? Oh, here it is, invalid gender exception to be thrown. Okay, we did. So how about we just do the following? You know, we'll just put a shortcut here. We'll just say we'll want to convert this string to a gender. So we need to call that method that we just added on student, this parse gender. Okay, and I want to make it, okay, well, wait a second here. I'm going to say, oops, that was on the student test. Student.parse gender. Make it package local. Yep, so it can be tested. And let's see here, and that made everything pass. Do I have the app visible for testing? I do. Nice. So app visible for testing is an annotation actually that comes from Guava. I didn't realize that was on the class path. We'll come back to that. Before we finish, we need to run the run it with Maven to see if that's actually on the class path or not. Okay. Well, so things seem happier now. Let me run. Let's see here. That was all of the student IT tests. Oh, one failed. I don't know about the bad gender. Okay. What was this student IT 67? Oh. Oh, haha, right. Okay, so I think I missed something here. Parse gender. Yeah, I don't want this to throw in. Oh, interesting. I don't want this to throw an invalid gender exception anymore, but I do. No, 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 no. Okay. The reason I want to throw the invalid gender exception is because, okay, well, let's see here. For my main program, yeah, I want my main to exit, to catch this exception and exit. So I don't think I want parse gender then to be here as part of student. I want it to be part of gender, actually. Drat. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to move this logic yet again to a method on gender. So I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to say return gender dot. I wish I knew remember the name of the method. It was gender from string, something like that. Gender from string, and I can now create the method gender from string, and I'll paste that here. So enums can have these static methods, which are kind of cool. Okay, cool. Now I've got that, and now I want to change my student test. Right here, I don't want to use parse gender anymore, because parse gender is sort of part of the main program, and I think this is why, like in your projects, like your project one, main is separate from the like the appointment book class. For this project 0, I just wanted everything to start out in one class and have it be easy. That's not the right way to do it. So probably what I would do if I was doing this for real is I would have I have a main method in a class that's different from student. But project 0, it was supposed to be, easy and straightforward, just like one class for the students to write. So anyway, gender from string. Let me static import this guy. I don't know what the difference is. There we go. Oh, I don't want to import the entire thing. I just want to import the gender. There we go. Okay, so now that's going to throw the exception, because what the student test expects is that the exception be thrown. Now over in the student main method, which was what I can probably get back to from right here, parse gender. Now I want to say, I want to put this in a try catch. Here's where I want to try the catch invalid gender exception, and here's where I want to print that error message. I want to say invalid gender with a capital A, gender, and no, it's complaining that it's missing a return statement, so I can do my horrible little stupid language games. What does it complain about here? Access can be private. It can be now, yes, because it's not being used by that unit test anymore, so it doesn't need the visible for testing. Good to know. I could put that on the enumeration, perhaps. Doesn't hurt or help either way. Okay, so run that test. So student IT is okay. Let's go run student again. The student test, which is right here. Let's run all these tests, which you can do with this. And it's all happy. Okay, so am I happy as a programmer? Yeah, I think that refactoring was good. I feel better about that refactoring. Sort of keeps the main class stuff separate from the student class. And now luckily I don't have anything like my student, and by my student class I mean like student instance methods. It gets, like I said, it gets a little confused with having that main method on the same class, the domain class. That's not a pattern that you want to follow. That was just me sort of trying to think of something easy for the students to grok. Okay, this is all good. Let's see here. So let's check this in. And let's see here. Refactor the student class to take a gender instead of gender as a string. Two warnings. What is it warning me about? Because IntelliJ. Oh, param gender tag is missing. Oh, interesting. When I changed that, it got rid of the tag. Okay. Oh. Yeah. And then the student's gender. That's okay. Yeah, and this is an example of, wow, all sorts of stuff changed here. What changed here? I'm just going to revert this change and then change it back because you need to change all those lines. This is kind of a lame Java doc. There's no question about that. It's there for completeness. It's I encourage you guys to use this kind of Java doc just to get familiarity with Java doc. If I was doing this for real, probably wouldn't. Something like, oh look, a parameter of the student constructor called gender, the student's gender. That's not informative. That's not useful. In the real world, you probably wouldn't do that. But because we're learning, because we're learning how to write API documentation, it's something that I make you do. Okay, change that. And what was this? Manual array to collection copy. Yes, your day is coming. I want to figure out what to do about that warning. But in the meantime, I'm going to commit this stuff again. Commit and push. Some files contain warnings. Yeah, let's see, one warning. Cool. I'll commit that. Push it off to GitHub now. Messages. Manual array to collection copy. So I'm going to sit here and I want to ponder my main method. So this works. This is pretty concise. And it's probably good enough as it is. However, there's a pattern that I've developed over the years that I don't think is strictly necessary to follow in the student program because the command line is so simple. But for the for your projects that parse the command line, this doing things like assuming that the required gender parameter is always going to be a parameter, is always going to be going to be element 1 in the array won't work, right? Because you have variable length command lines because you have the options that may or may not be there. So I'm going to show you the pattern that I like to use for parsing command lines. It's probably a little bigger than is necessary for this program, but it's something that might come in handy for you and your projects. We'll see. So actually, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of this stuff. Well, I'm just going to kind of rewrite it from scratch because I think I have it right in my head. So the first thing that I do is I declare variables for all of my arguments that are there, and I assign them to null. So I'll have the list of strings, which are the classes, although in this case it's going to be a new array list. It won't be a null value. It'll be just empty. I'll have the deep GPA. Now, you can have a GPA of 0, and so I'm going to use a capital D double for my GPA, and it's going to be null. And you'll see why in a second. And then I'm going to have my gender as a string. Yeah. Well, actually, no. It should all be. That should be a string also. Yeah. And then a string gender also equals null. So basically, what I'm doing is saying, hey, here are everything that I'm expecting from my command line. Okay. Now I'm going to do the following. I'm just going to iterate over my there. And actually, I don't even need the I. I can change that into a for each. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So for this one, I don't need to loop. For things like the dash text file option, you will need the you will need the index variable so that you can then look ahead to the next command line argument. But you'll see what I mean in a second. Okay. So I'm parsing over this. I'm saying, well, if my name is null, then name equals arg. Else, oops, oh my gosh, is that an assignment? It is. Equals null. Else if actually GPA is the next one. Oh, these are in the wrong order. Sorry. There we go. GPA equals null. Then GPA equals args. And actually, are those the right one? Wait a second. No, gender is next. Jeez, come on. And this is important, right? You gotta get this right. Else, if gender is null, then gender equals arg. I want to keep these in the order just so that we can do that. right? Yeah. Okay. And then otherwise, if I've already seen the GPA, then otherwise I'm just going to add to the classes. Okay, and now we got to do some error checking. So now instead of this, we say, hey, if name equals null, then that. Otherwise, if gender equals null, do it that way. Otherwise, if GPA equals null, do that. I don't need this code anymore, so I can get rid of that for loop that told you I was complaining about. And now I can do the following. I don't need that guy anymore. Can I inline him? Yay. And I'm going to inline this guy. And now I'm going to say this isn't args2 anymore. This is GPA. And then this is gender. Print out system.exit. Now, this is a little bit more code. Actually, okay, wait. Before I congratulate myself or ponder whether or not I've done the right thing, let me run the tests. Those are the student tests, I believe. So I'm going to run the student IT tests again. Run all these guys. All 9 tests pass. And let me look at this code. Definitely more code. You kind of got this for loop with all of the ifs and stuff like that. For this assignment, you probably don't need it, but I would recommend that you maybe consider this for your project one, because it'll make it easier to handle the options and things like that. And I think you can see how. And if you want to look at this further, go look at my source code up on GitHub, not for the summer 2016, which is the Portland State Java repository. If you go and look for some main methods, I think you'll see a number of them that sort of parse the command line like that. Actually, I even posted about it in the Google community. So, the nice thing about this is I can loop over the arguments there. I don't sort of have this assumption of, oh, argument 3 is the GPA, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let's commit that. Refactored command line parsing. Oh yeah, and I guess one thing that's important to point out is that I was able to just completely rewrite my main method like that. And because I had all of those integration tests, because my main method had nice automated tests, everything still ran and everything still worked. So I guess one more thing I want to do is I want to let's see here. I want to go, oh, here's my appointment book. So I want to do a Maven clean and verify. So this is running the Maven project. I just want to make sure that everything works for Maven. Actually, I haven't gotten a nasty email from that Travis CI saying that didn't work. So I'm pretty sure that everything's going to be okay, and everything is okay. Awesome. And so let's do the Maven site just for kicks. Oh, my computer's working a little hard now. I don't know why I'm doing the Maven site. Just to, I guess, show off all that Maven stuff that I put together over the winter. Okay, and then open target index.html, target site index.html. Yay, and here we go. And so now we can look at the project reports. Some of them like the fail-safe reports. This is where the integration tests are run. And one test, oh yeah, here we go with, click on that. Oh, that's weird. Test no command line arguments. Oh wait, that's project 1. Oh, this is totally the wrong one. I'm looking at appointment book and not student. Sorry. There we go. Let's try this again. Clean, verify. And we won't bother making the site again because I'm getting kind of tired. Okay, so it ran student IT, and by the way, the verify phase. Okay, sorry, what am I doing here? So the verify phase, Maven's verify phase, will do all of the steps. We'll compile the source code, compile the test code, run the tests, build the jar, run the integration tests. By the way, the integration tests are run after the integration tests are run in the integration test phase, which is the phase before verify. Verify will verify that the integration test ran correctly. So anyway, so all that stuff is there, and all that stuff looks good. So let's see here. Are we done? Well, let's see here. I can't think of any more test cases. I'm feeling pretty good about that I've implemented everything correctly. Now, granted, the lion's share of the work was done by the student class, so this is why I basically just what I focused on here was turning strings into things like doubles and things like gender. But I think this is all good. So I'm going to call it a day. Anyway, so thanks for listening. I will see you on Wednesday night, and please keep asking asking questions via emails or the Google group. See you later. Bye.